are tuned in to Podro Pascal, a bi-weekly celebration of the actor Pedro Pascal, where we explore his filmography and how some of his greatest performances came to be. I'm Catrina.
And I'm Rachel.
And this week we are so excited to welcome... Oh, wait, you were going for that, Rachel. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No, Rachel, do it. No. Rachel, do it. Rachel, do it.
This week we're joined by podcast extraordinaire, Star Wars fan, and friend of the pod, Alden Diaz. Hello, Alden.
What's going on, my friends? I'm ready to go here. I have to light my Din prayer candle.
I love it.
In celebration. I've got my Disney Prince sticker that I haven't put on anything yet. I'm ready to go.
Oh my gosh. You are
so
prepared.
So ready. Oh my gosh.
Alden, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my dad and I never met, and I think that's where most of my issues come from. No, I'm kidding. We're recording this on Father's Day, by the way. Which just I didn't even intend to make the joke, and that's why I connect with Grogu.
This is Pedro Pascal's day. It's Father's Day.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Daddy's day, if you will.
All dilfs welcome.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Friendly podcast.
But yeah, so we all know each other sort of from the content space. So it's like nothing that I'm going to say about myself is going to be like, wow, that's so revolutionary. I have a Star Wars podcast. I have a film podcast. I've been writing on the internet since I was 14. I work for iHeart. That's where my day job. I work for iHeartRadio or iHeartMedia. And I produce morning shows for Miami and Fort Lauderdale and the market down here. I've worked in rock radio. Right now I work the first iHeart all 90s station because now the 90s is old enough to be like nostalgia. So my mornings from 5 a.m. to the middle of the day are Britney, NSYNC, Lenny Kravitz, and then after that it's Star Wars and hanging out with my dog. So that's basically my life. And Rachel and I met doing WandaVision coverage, and Catrina, I've just known you from the space, just like having been a fan and just from seeing you pop up all over and from your StarWars.com stuff. And so I've known you longer than we've known each other, just because that's how weird online culture is. Where I have like tight friends in this space now, where it's like, oh yeah, I've been following you for 10 years, and it's like, oh, well, that's absolutely a little strange.
Yeah, that's so weird because it's like I have a 3-bedroom apartment, so our third roommate is moving at the end of summer, and his girlfriend, like, I don't remember where it was, but it was like he was like, he mentioned me, and she was like, Rachel?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, it's my friend. She goes, oh my God, that's my favorite pop culture writer. And like, it was like, she knew who I was based on just like being online before I ever met her. And I was like, oh yeah, that's weird that is a thing that exists in the world.
Absolutely. I think it's just like an echo of like all three of us live in like big coastal cities, and like that happens with like, when you have people who work in like broadcast, like, oh, I know the guy who does like the morning radio, or like, oh, I know, my ex-boss is like an actress or so-and-so, this and that,
Yeah.
So it's fun to like see online, like, especially to hear stuff like that, where it's like, oh, people have actually read my stuff and they knew who I was. That's so nice. Like, but now I'm glad
we're coastal elites. We're
the coastal elites over here.
Look, there are a lot of people in the Midwest who live near celebrities because that's where celebrities go to live. So, not to discount them, that's their neighbors too. They just see them less at the grocery store,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So the news. In Pedro Pascal news, he is in good old Canada. Because they have started to film The Last of Us. I just forgot what that show is.
Mm-hmm.
They started to film The Last of Us. He posted some selfie that he looks like he has a lightning bolt on his face because the sun's shining in. Everyone lost their minds. To which I believe the selfie says "I wish" in the corner. So I don't know what journey he's on. He's on a journey, and kudos to you. Welcome. Please watch Bo Burnham's Inside. Then we can all be on the same collective journey.
Yes.
But this picture appeared, and a lot of people had something to say. Of Pedro Pascal in some overalls and this same fucking Lakers t-shirt. In a Walmart, a Best Buy.
That's definitely a Best Buy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Best Buy for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same Lakers shirt from just hanging out with Frank. So he has 3 shirts. Now this is in the rotation of shirts.
Huge quarantine mood. Like I that's how I go to the store sometimes when I just don't have enough spoons. I'm like, whatever, this works.
Can you bring up the overalls again?
Yeah, of course.
I just want everybody to know that this is going to be my Celebration Anaheim cosplay.
Oh, I love
for
it.
2022.
Yes.
Only real ones will know.
You'll roll up and all of us will just be like, hell yeah. And people be like, he's in a Lakers t-shirt. It's like, yeah, it's very specific.
This is a niche
I'll
fandom.
look like this one. This is what I'll come into Celebration looking like.
We need to have a Podro Pascal cosplay meetup. Just do all the worst of his outfits.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, this will be me. I'll just come as the sun. I'll come as the Tubby Sun, or I will come in just my compression shorts and a leather jacket and be like, hello, I'm here, what's up?
Exactly.
My hero.
But yeah, that's about it. They're just filming that show. That's all he's doing. Again, as I say every time we do the news section, I don't know his life. I'm sure he's having a time. But I do know that they're filming The Last of Us in Canada.
Hold on. Did we talk about the Actors on Actors interview last time?
No.
That's the other piece of news.
Yeah,
that is the news.
It felt like that feels so long ago. Right? But it was also like no.
It's like last week, and it feels like 60 years ago.
Yeah. So we do have to talk about the Actors on Actors. So sorry, listeners. I thought that that had come and gone. So him and Ewan McGregor did Actors on Actors, to which it was just Ewan McGregor basically the entire time answering Pedro Pascal's questions, and I don't think Ewan McGregor interviewed Pedro Pascal at all. And the one time he did, Pedro Pascal almost spoiled all of like how they're filming The Mandalorian.
Like when he's gonna go back and
yeah,
it's so funny. I mean, I'm sorry, who does Actors on Actors? Vanity Fair or Variety? Variety. Whichever Variety editor realized that they had the opportunity to do that pair, they were just high-fiving themselves the entire week.
So
because
perfect.
The sweet Star Wars drip of just clicks and sizzles and all that. But also just like the charisma is like equal, but 2 totally different kinds of charisma. Because Ewan's is appropriately like so European and like sort of like understated, and then Pedro's here like, I'm a big dork, like he
was like, I love Train Spotting. I love all movies you've made.
They're like so embroiled in conversation. And
me and Catrina, the Scotsman and the Chilean.
I've got that one too. Hold on a second. Hold on. Here we go. It's uploading. Here it comes. It's the best. There.
Yeah, she just made it our podcast.
It's just us. It's just Ewan is Rachel and I'm Pedro, and it works.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, I like it a lot. I do think it's so funny because it was like very clearly like they didn't give them strict guidelines. Like some of them you can tell that they're like, here are the questions you should ask each other.
Yeah.
And there are some who you could tell that they're very excited to just talk. But I feel like those 2, they were like, you guys just talk to each other and ask some questions. And Pedro was like, here's my list of questions. And Ewan McGregor was like, I'm just gonna go with it. I'll figure it out.
I just rolled up today. I didn't even open my notes app for this one.
Yeah, it was just so organic and just like free flowing, just big friend energy. Like they seemed like they were at the end, like they were excited to meet each other, in the future and to visit each other's sets and stuff. And we know just from, the interviews and talk that Ewan did his costume test for Obi on the Mando season 2 set. So they possibly have crossed paths before in a professional capacity, but I'm so excited for the inevitable Obi Disney gallery where Pedro is there. Like hey, like this is so fun. Like,
yeah, they're at a round table. They're like, "Sir, this is a different show." He's like, "It's okay. What's up?"
yeah,
My good
yeah.
friend, we did actors on actors together. We zoomed.
Yeah. Don't mind me. I'll just eat my salad and watch.
Oh yeah. Tom Hiddleston with a salad off to the side. No, but it was super endearing, and I think that my favorite moment from the whole thing was when Ewan is like, "Oh yeah, you know," and like the baby Yoda. I'm sorry, Grogu, and then he's like, "You know his name?" Pedro's like, "You know his name?"
He got
Like,
so
he's, like,
excited
so
that he
happy.
corrected himself. Like he goes, "I'm so sorry. That's not his name. His name is Grogu." And he's like,
Yeah.
"What? You corrected yourself?"
Yeah.
So sweet.
It rolled. It's 30 minutes long, and then abrupt ends. Very clearly, we're told they have a heart out. Those who did not fucking pay attention to it, because you can see where they're like, "Oh no, we have to hurry this up," and then like the last question is just like they're talking about Halston, and then he goes, "Hey, well, this was cool," and like that's how it ends.
Yeah.
Like,
So abrupt.
But yeah, that is the news. He is filming. Him and Ewan McGregor had a little chat. And after watching Luca, just to bring this back, I do hope that he goes and gets some more gelato. That was very quick. I accidentally kicked back twice. I have a whole bit where he showed pictures of him in Italy one day, and I was like, "Good, go get you some gelato." And then the next day, that picture showed up, and he had gelato in his hand, and I was like, "Good, I'm glad you got yourself some gelato." And so now I watched Luca, and I'm like, "I want gelato."
I love that for him.
But yeah, so that's the news. It is, not much is happening, but this week we are talking about one of my favorite Pedro films, and also one of my favorite franchises just ever. And we are talking about the tried, the true, the beautiful, the Kingsman, the Golden Circle.
Yes.
Because I always forget which one's the and which one's an So I always I'm like, is it a Secret Service or the Secret Service? And then
The is the one that should have already been out, but is not because of COVID. The Kingsman is the Ray Fiennes one.
I mean, with like the colon.
Oh, just the subtitles.
Yeah, so it's
I think they're both the
Secret Service. No, one's so it's like a Secret
It
Service
is?
and the Golden Circle.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Man, I've been saying it the wrong way this whole time.
Every time I'm like writing it, I'm like, wait, which one is the and which one is the?
I am shook by this.
This is new information for me.
Guys, I'm just dropping truths on this podcast today, all about the Kingsman franchise. But yeah, so Alden, what we'll do is I run down the movie, and then we're gonna deep dive and talk. But you are about to witness me in my stupidity doing the rundown.
Yay!
I love it. Love this for you.
Yep. Thank you so much. The Kingsman, the Golden Circle, is the highly anticipated sequel to Kingsman, A Secret Service, a film that starred Taron Egerton, Colin Firth, Samuel L. Jackson, Sophia Boutella, Mark Strong, Michael Caine, so many celebs that you know and love.
Mark Hamill?
Mark Hamill was in it?
Mark Hamill was in the first one, yes.
Yeah.
So then in the end of the movie, you realize basically that the Secret Service went full Hydra and they're bad. No for them. So then, right? Or is it the end of? No.
Well, it's the end of the first one. Yeah, that
end of the first
Michael
one,
Caine was in on the plan. Yeah.
Yeah. I got confused because also this one starts with a whole nother fucking to do with the Secret Service. So then we come to Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Julianne Moore is living her 1960s dream, and she is running a drug ring. That is like this drug that you take, and then she's like trying to show everyone that drugs are bad, but also like if you just let me sell drugs, I wouldn't be banished. It's a little complicated. It's fine though. Don't worry about it. So the whole movie, they're trying to figure out like where the drugs are coming from, like how to stop them, because the Kingsmen were attacked and everything got blown up. And so the only two Kingsmen who are still alive, because if you guys remember correctly, Colin Firth, been dead. He died in that first one. So pretend you don't know Colin Firth's alive and well. Colin Firth's Harry Hart, dead. So Eggsy is like, oh no, now it's just me and Mark Strong. All the Kingsmen got murdered. They all got blown up. Like, what are we to do? And they go and they like they're trying to find answers, and they find this whiskey, and they're like, I guess we just get trashed because they're so smart and so stupid. So they drink it all, and then realize it is telling them that there is an American version of the Kingsmen called the Statesmen, who are essentially just Indiana Jones. And so they go there, and they're like, what's up? We need your help. We have to figure out what's going on, like what this drug is, and because everyone started to basically become paralyzed because of these drugs, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. So then they are with the Statesmen, who are all named after alcohol, where the Kingsmen
super healthy.
Yeah. The Kingsmen are like, hi, we're the Knights of the Round Table, and then the Americans are like, we are alcohol.
99 bottles of agents on the wall.
Yeah. And so they team up with, they were supposed to team up with Channing Tatum, who, why can't I remember his name?
Tequila.
He's Tequila.
He's Tequila, that's right. They're supposed to team up with Tequila, but then Tequila turns blue because he did the drugs. And they're like, oh no, well now Whiskey, you're taking point. And Whiskey is none other than Pedro Pascal. His name is like Jack something, and I don't remember.
His name is actually Jack Daniels.
Okay, yeah, I was like, I know his name was Jack, but
it's like a full pun.
Oh yeah, yoy. But
he's not subtle.
No, not at all. So he is Agent Whiskey. Jeff Bridges is in charge of the whole Statesman. Halle Berry is there. Mark Strong. It all rules. But while they're there, they're like, oh, here's how, like, you guys will trust us. Don't worry about it. And they show Harry Hart, and they have this technology that, like, saved him after he was shot in the head. And they brought him to the Statesman, and, like, their facility, like, are trying to bring him back to life, but his memory is, like, gone. He doesn't know who he is. He just loves butterflies. And so then, the whole, like, I'm trying to remember. Oh, so then they keep trying to get information. Taron Egerton fingers a girl and puts a camera up her. And then at a music festival. And so, and then
the nonchalant segue into that was just
well,
because it's like it exists. And so then it's like him and Whiskey on this whole little journey. And then they're like, okay, but we need Harry. Like, we got to get Harry Hart back. And so what happens is Eggsy is like, oh, I'm going to pretend to shoot this dog like you did to me in the first movie. And Harry is like, my memories are back. But he also, like, will just see butterflies, which I'm jumping because this movie's long, and also, like, we still got to talk about it. So, like, I'm jumping 90% of these plot points. So then they're like, great, well, let's go. We have to go to this facility, and they have the antidote, and this is the information they got from, like, the fingering. So they are going to this facility. They bring Harry Hart. Harry sees the butterflies, and they're like, oh no, like, he's gone fucking ape shit. And, like, they basically use a ski lift to, like, and they take down the whole ski lift and then run off into the wilderness, and all of the, like, people who are trying to get the antidote back from them are shooting at them, and Harry can, like, he's, like, still seeing butterflies, but shoots Whiskey in the head. So then Whiskey had to do the rapper. Listen, guys, this movie is fantastic. It's one of my favorites, but also it doesn't make any goddamn sense. So then
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. So then,
comic book movie.
Whiskey's in the hospital, and you realize like his trigger to come back and like get his memories back is like a picture of his ex-wife, or sorry, not his ex-wife, his dead wife, because we learn that he has a wife. She was pregnant with their kid and was killed, and that's why he became an agent, because he was like, "Fuck this." That's important for later. So then, they're like, "Great, we have to go. We figured it out. We gotta go to Poppy." Whatever. We go to Julianne Moore, who's been branding people and also has Elton John as a prisoner. And so they're sitting, like, they're like, all right, we're going to break in to Poppy and make her stop this. Because she's broadcast to the world that, like, everyone who did these drugs is going to die. And she has a way of, like, curing it but won't do it because she's like, no, I'm showing you, like, the problems with the world. And so then they go there. Mark Strong is with them. He accidentally stands on a landmine. And so his way of distracting everyone is to sing Take Me Home Country Roads by John Denver. And then he blows himself up. Harry and Eggsy are like, okay, we got this. We're gonna fucking fight Poppy and free Elton John, which is why Taron Egerton was Elton John and Rocket Man. And so then they go realize that Whiskey was working with her because Whiskey is like, my wife died because of drug dealers, like, fuck drugs. And then they fight and throw him in a meat grinder. And then Eggsy, who has been fighting with his girlfriend this entire movie, they get married at the end. And that is Kingsman: The Golden Circle in the most barest of explanations.
Incredible.
It was like the drunk history version.
Yeah.
In the best way.
Yeah. I want someone to describe Elton John's there.
So there's Elton John and a robot dog. And the
robot dog.
And the princess from Sweden that they did it from behind in the first movie.
Yeah.
They get married.
Yeah. She also takes the drugs and
yes, she was on the drugs.
And she was on the drugs and was like paralyzed. And he's like, oh no.
Also, JB, the original pug, gets blown up too, which broke my heart.
He got blown up.
That was awful. And like after surviving that first movie too, I'm so upset.
Yeah, that dog dead.
I was also bummed that Roxy. I mean, I'd seen this movie before, but rewatching it, like the fact that Roxy goes out in the first act, does nothing except help him on his date. She was legit. She was Lancelot. And then nope.
And his friend got killed just like
just for dog sitting.
He was there. Yeah,
the guy didn't do anything wrong.
Like, sorry, you were asked to dog sit. Now you're dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a Kingsman Golden Circle. But yeah, so like my favorite thing though is that like I feel as if the Statesmen are Indiana Jones. Like that's how I pitched this movie to my brother because I wanted him to watch it. And I was like, no, it's cool as shit. They have like whips, and it's because the Kingsmen are James Bonds, and like look how posh we are, and then the Americans roll in, and they're like, I'm not going through all that fucking effort. Like, great, manners maketh man. That sounds fun. I have a whip.
Yes, it's an incredible like introductory scene. It reminds me, it was like on caliber of like with Harry's first scene in the first Kingsman.
Yeah, I really liked the whole setup is really clever. Of then Halle Berry's like, oh, I just opened our secret vault and there's an umbrella. Like they were set up to not know about each other for like spy reasons. But then if they were to need each other, and then they go all the way back, and she's like, yeah, our founder, his tailor was Kingsman. And then it like sets up this cool relationship. And then at the end, there's a Kingsman scotch, and that they're coming together. But I'm a huge sucker for like the equivalence like type thing. Like, oh, there's this version of you. Like, what's a good, like back in Harry Potter, and they were like, there's a school in France, there's a school over here. Like I was like, what? Like as a kid, like there's other ones. And how Indiana Jones has, in his rival Belloc. Like I love it when there's a parallel. This, it also feels like very John Wicky. Like there's a bigger world than type thing. Which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think why it works though is it's like you could have very easily made the Statesman more like James Bondy as well.
Mhm.
But it works so well for me because it is so American, and the Kingsman was so English. And it's like, we are tailors, and here's how we fight, where we fix our cufflinks, versus like, I just like watching the Americans just kind of be like, yeah, I'll fucking figure it out, who cares, and just throw themselves into situations.
Yeah.
And then, because Eggsy's kind of like the marriage between the two of them. Like, he wasn't the posh kid growing up, and they're like, they, for lack of a better term, polished him up and made him into this Kingsman. But then he's with the Statesman, and he gets to use like how he would fight in bars and stuff.
Mhm.
And I think it was really interesting, and I like it a lot. I love the Statesman. I would watch a whole give me a Statesman prequel movie just so I can have whiskey back. Like, I
Mhm.
love the Statesman. I think that is such an interesting little thing. These movies, like, I understand why people don't like them, because they are like, as I said, a girl gets fingers so a camera can go up her, so then they can listen in and have some information on where the drug, like,
They're films based off of Mark Millar comics, so
Yeah.
like, they're gonna be crass and like,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
Millar is like, Millar is that's a whole
like,
thing.
yeah, like the level of what we got. And I mean, I remember watching Kick-Ass for the first time, and like, I had, because I was gonna watch Kick-Ass, I went and read the comic, and I was like so nervous about what I was gonna see on screen, and then it was like 80% less, like,
Yeah, like I think that Matthew
less
Vaughn
terrible.
makes Mark Millar more palatable.
Yeah.
Because Mark Millar is like pure shock value. I think he's like the writer equivalent of like a shock jock sometimes. But
Yeah.
but with like Kingsman it's like the most played straight parody comic book version. Like, the elements of parody that are in it are so in your face, like, for a reason.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work for you, like the hyper violence, then I'll totally understand. The sex comedy, like the first one, all building up to like the reward for saving the world is anal sex with your future girlfriend. Like that's like
future princess wife. How dare you?
Future princess wife. Yeah, that's true. That type of thing. Like, I can't defend the fact that it is really, really crass. I get that it's parodying that type of stuff. So it's just how much you're willing to be able to palate at the end of the day. I mean, it's sort of, it's not like Tarantino, but it's the same sort of conversations that you have. Like,
yeah,
if you can stomach it, you can stomach it. If not, I totally get it.
Yeah. Well, sorry, go ahead, Catrina.
Oh, no. I was just gonna say I still enjoyed like some of the things that came, especially into this movie, that we didn't get in the first movie for, like, you know, scheduling reasons and stuff. Like, I will always appreciate Mark Hamill's cameo in the first movie, because it's what got me an interview with him, and that was super cool. But like, having Elton John in this one, in that place where he was supposed to be, was like really cool and gratifying, and I think it played so well in this film.
Yeah, and like, listen, Poppy, I know you have to live on a little island, but also, like, here's the thing. Her life rules. She has Elton John sing her songs whenever the damn she fucking pleases. And then she talks about Podro Pascal. Like, they're friends. So I'm like, girl, what are you doing? Like, why are you? I have so many questions. Like, just chill. Why are you trying to take over the world? Like, you have a diner that you can just like hang out in and do it whatever you want all goddamn day. Who cares?
And that's the other thing about this one, in terms of like with villains, especially like in Bond or things, and pretty much anything, like, you want to find an escalation of the villain you already had, but find a different angle. So you had like Sam Jackson as Valentine in the first one with his lisp, and that he's a rich guy, but he loves to eat McDonald's and he hates blood. And like, you have to find like as many weird character traits as you can. So like, this one feels like they just threw everything at the wall. Like, what if she was in Cambodia, but it was like 1950s, but she had cyborgs and robots? Like, it's just everything. And I didn't say this up top because it's not the Julianne Moore show, but Julianne Moore is my favorite actress. She is just, I think that she's the best we have. So anything that she's in, I'm down. And she's definitely like completely hyper aware of the fact that her character is a cartoon character, and she just leans all the way into it.
Yeah.
Well, and Pop. So listen, I'm not defending Poppy. She's crazy. She murdered a man, then made some other guy eat the burger. But like, also Poppy, like, maybe the greatest mastermind out there. she's just like, I'm on this island and I'm going to control everybody from an island. Like, the only reason that she got taken down was because you can't fight Mark Strong. I've learned that throughout my whole life. You just can't fight Mark Strong. Mark Strong will find ways to bring you down. I am going to pretend as if Merlin is not dead, because Merlin is one of my favorite characters in this whole franchise. And the fact that he loved John Denver and is obsessed with the Statesman because he's just like, I like Americans. Delightful.
I just love it.
Yeah, like, that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, these movies make so much sense, but no sense at all. You just have to kind of be like, that's it.
Yeah, you're sort of taking it on its terms the entire time. Like every time that they're like, this is how this works, I'm like, all right. Like when Pedro takes out the condom and he's like, oh, I thought things were bigger here in America. And he's like, it's for your finger. He's like, it just needs to go into a mucous membrane. And then we get audio of everything. And I'm like, all right. Sure.
Yeah, like you explained
it,
and
I
I'm
guess.
like, they explained it and it's like, okay. Did I need to watch the camera? Not at all. But you know what? You live and you learn. That is the Mando. I understand that you enjoy that scene. Mando the dog losing his mind.
He's got strong opinions about whether or not we needed to see it.
How dare you?
Can't wait to see his Rotten Tomatoes page.
Yeah, wait, Mando? What's your RT profile? What is your letterbox review?
Mando's letterbox is much like yours, Rachel, where it's just all or nothing. The dog is like, did I look at the screen the entire time or was I distracted?
Yeah. My cat today realized the TV was on and we were like, oh yes, that point of the week where the cat's like, TV? TVs exist? But yeah, no, I think I like these movies a lot. I like them for what they are. I don't try and think too much about them. I do owe my job to Kingsman Golden Circle, something I have talked about on this podcast before, but because it is the episode, I will retell the story. I saw Kingsman the Golden Circle with my friend, and my now boss was there and saw like my denim jacket I have that has patches and pins and all this stuff on it. And afterwards she came up to me when she was talking about my jacket, and she like looked at like my Captain Kirk pin and asked me about Trek, and she goes, well, who's your favorite? And I went, oh, Chris Pine. I was like, not Shatner. Like, I like Pine as Kirk. And so we were screaming about Chris Pine in like Times Square because that's where we got out. And then she followed me on Twitter. I did some stuff for the Mary Sue, but like freelancing. And then a year later, she was like, we need help with our social, like reviewing and my job. So without Kingsman Golden Circle, you wouldn't see my wonderful hot takes on the marysue.com. So this movie and the fingering scene and Agent Whiskey and Take Me Home Country Roads.
Yeah, in a way, we owe our entire show to this movie.
Yeah, and this is also the second movie that Channing Tatum was in that year.
Yeah,
Take Me Home Country Roads was in, because he was also in Logan Lucky that year.
This is 2017.
Yeah,
such a long time ago.
I know, it feels like a different world. I thought for a second that this was 15, because my first thought when he came on the screen was that it's the second time that he's gotten to use his Southern drawl, because then he gets to do it in Hateful Eight as Jodie Dolman Gray, and he only shows up at the end of the movie. But Channing Tatum's he's only in this a little bit, but he's really entertaining.
No, Channing Tatum he's not in this movie for that long, but it's also like enough Channing Tatum for me. I don't dislike Channing Tatum. I'm just never like gung ho. I'm like, he's fine. The
Channing quotient, it's a very small amount, but really, I think that what's interesting about Channing is that, much like Jai Courtney as another great example, these are actors that Hollywood believed were meant to be A-list beefcake stars. But really, they are character actors trapped in the bodies of A-listers. Because when you put Jai Courtney in like Die Hard and like all these movies where he's the lead, he's terrible. But then you put him as Boomerang, and he's one of the best parts of the movie. and I'm glad they're keeping him. With Channing, it's like, okay, you had like Step Up and then like your other movies, and Magic Mike was sort of a nice success, and he had the dancer background and stuff. But the more like offsides Channing gets to be, and the more like he gets to play, like being funny, like, you know, Lord and Miller really discovered sort of like just how funny this guy is. He's really good, and Bridges too. I mean, like, he's an actor that you could pop in for 2 seconds and he makes any movie better. So
yeah,
absolutely.
I will say I do love this movie because my father is in it. Jeff Bridges and my dad are twins. I can convince my father's a long lost Bridges. And when I was a child, I've talked about this on other podcasts. For when I was a kid, there's a movie with him and I think Tim Robbins, and they're like neighbors. And I was probably like 11 or 12, and I asked my mom why Dad was in a movie, and they realized that I thought my dad looked like Jeff Bridges. And so now to this day, like to the point where like my dad was diagnosed with blood cancer like in August, and then Jeff Bridges, it was like, oh, I have blood cancer in like September.
Oh my God, it's so
like,
eerie.
I was like, this is too much. I need you guys to not.
Well, tell your dad I loved him in Crazy Heart.
That's the one that he listen.
He was so good in it.
I love Crazy Heart, and it's funny because my mom, so my dad is essentially the dude. Like, just wants to smoke pot and chill all day long. That's my dad's whole MO.
Love that for him.
What?
Love that for him. Love it.
Yeah. But that, so he's the dude. And so when Crazy Heart came out, I cried during True Grit because I was like, no, my dad died. And then I watched Crazy Heart, and when I was a kid, my dad had a heart attack. And so I was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. Like, I just sobbed throughout all of Crazy Heart. Because I was like, it's my dad. And my
There's too many parallels.
Yeah.
They're the
so
same person.
funny.
And I feel like I've just been lied to because I've met Beau Bridges, but I've never met Jeff. And so I'm like, all right, someone's lying to me, and my dad has just been Jeff Bridges this entire time.
It really bothered me when your dad took the arc reactor out of Tony Stark's chest. That was really lame of him.
Very upsetting.
It's a really big point of contention in our family. As someone who has the arc reactor in my room, I'm like, Dad, how dare you?
Hostile takeover.
I mean, look, that right there is a father who will go to great lengths for his child, because now you have the arc reactor. So
that's true.
Yeah, you're correct. But yeah, so I love The Statesman very much. I like this movie very much. Yeah, I think the Pedro Pascal also, like, I know he complains because this movie, like, he was not prepared for how much work it is. Was like with training, and like, because the fame quote is, I'm just an actor and my back is killing me because of like the training and shit he did for this. But Whiskey is such a fun character because it's like we don't know that much about him until the end of the movie. And then when you do, it's like, okay, well, now I want to know so much more about him, but it's over, and his legs are the only thing that exists anymore because he was thrown into a meat grinder. So, like, can anyone let me know, like, where I can get some more whiskey information? But
definitely more whiskey content needed. And, like, I just love that this is just another one of his, like, really, really good turns as, like, a comedic actor. You know, like, we see him, he's a very dramatic actor now these days, but, like, this was still in his famed death era, that I like to call it. And it's just a really nice, like, I just love it when he gets a role that he can, like, ham it up on, and this is definitely one of them.
Yeah, and they do such a good job of setting it up in terms of The Statesman, because with Tequila, you get sort of an introduction to what they are, and you get, like, a good fight scene with them, and you get sort of an introduction to their side of the world, like you said, very similar to Galahad in the first movie. But then they set up Whiskey to be their best. Like, oh, we're going to have to send Whiskey. And he's not even there at the time. He's in New York. He's got, you know, the big building and the really nice setup. And he has his helicopter. He has his jet, the Silver Pony, that he uses later on. Like, he really is just like the cream of the crop for their side of the organization. And Pedro really leans into all that. I mean, the Southern drawl, you know, the outfits, the way he carries himself. It's all stuff that you can see sort of shades of, like, in something like Din Djarin, like how much he likes sort of like that old school Hollywood sort of man, but like here he gets to crank that all up because the entire movie is cranked up. And so he like I would love to see him do, you know, his own sort of either remaking a really classic movie, like a remake of Shane, but with Pedro Pascal or something like that, or anything where he could like do the really serious Western. But here he just, he's the kind of actor that can sell a really like, because like it's no one's denying like it's sloppy. Like this is a sloppy movie. I don't think it's as tight as the first one. I think the first one is a much stronger like film, like a script. But he's able to take a last minute, here's my entire backstory, and he just makes it like natural because it just feels right. Like that meme of him sort of kissing the photo of his, you know, dead wife. Like that is a moment where you believe like. That's when it comes together and you're like, oh, Harry was right. This guy, there's something right about him. Like you could tell, but you're not ready to hate him. You would like it if he, you know, turned back to the good because he is endearing.
I didn't want him to die. I was like, he could work it out. And then they put him in a meat grinder and I was like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I don't get anything.
This ain't a work it out movie.
I was
not
like,
quite.
You can like work on it. It'll be fine. And they're like, no, he's dead as shit. He got thrown into a meat grinder. Sorry. Yep. But yeah, I think I just really like that character. I like the whole vibe of this movie just because, like you said, like he's very much an old school actor. And this is also the movie that everyone is like, oh, he looks like Burt Reynolds, which is like, I maybe hate that, but whatever. Like
maybe hate.
Well, because I know it's a thing on the internet. I'm aware. And so then my dad, we're watching the movie, 10 minutes in the movie, or whenever Pedro Pascal rolls up, my dad goes, it looks like Burt Reynolds. And I was like, great.
And he's like, and I would know because I was on set with him.
Yeah. Like, I know Burt. Well,
exactly.
True to my father, though, like, we were watching it and he goes, who is that guy? And me and my brother are like, the Mandalorian. And the guy from Triple, like, we're like, you just watched him in 10 things, Dad. He's like, the same guy? I'm like, yeah, Dad. That mustache is undeniable. You can just see the stash or no.
Trademark.
Oy. But yes. Any other thoughts on Kingsman? The Golden Circle?
Fun movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that my only last thoughts on this is that whenever I watch this one, the first one, Kick-Ass, to a certain extent, I feel like Matthew Vaughn started to flex a little bit more as he went on. But like Matthew Vaughn knows how to move a fucking camera. Like he really does. Like there's stuff in filmmaking now, like John Wick, where it's like death ballet is what I call it, where it's like that gun fu, like they sort of keep the camera here, let everybody do the work. It looks like Shang-Chi's sort of going to be like that as well. Whereas this is like the camera is moving with the choreography as much as any of the actors or stunt people are. And so like when you get things like Pedro doing like the whip or the double pistol twirl, or Taron Egerton doing one of his many head scissor takedowns and judo throws, all that stuff, you feel like you're right there with him. Like the first film has the Freebird sequence in the church, which is just bonkers. And then this one has like 3 scenes that are similar to that. The car chase at the beginning, whiskey in the woods against those guys.
Yeah. So
it's just it's really, really just like kinetic. Like you watch this and you like want to work out. You don't, but you want to.
You're like, oh, I could be persuaded. I will say the one thing I do want to talk, we briefly touched about it, but I want to talk more about it because I love the comparison to the Manners Maketh Man scene so much. Just because it's, again, my favorite thing about this is it's like they went full tilt, hey, we're a bunch of Americans, and not in a way that's like, fuck you guys for being American, like in a, no, we understand the differences, and we're paying homage to both the filmmaking tactics of like spy movies in England versus like an Americanized story. And I like that scene because he's like, he said, manners maketh man. And I forget what he says, but it's like, he's like, which I mean, it means like, just fucking be nice. Like, and he's like, whatever. Like, I'm going to fucking take you guys down.
Yeah. Because they have like that thematic connection that Tequila talks about, where he says, I can't remember if his mother said it or someone in Statesman, but like that Southern hospitality comes from the English.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that carried over from the colonies all the way down to the Southerners of today. And so you sort of have that, like, in Whiskey's mind, manners maketh man makes sense because he is used to tipping his hat and, you know, and charming people and all that stuff sort of like equates. So, and like you said, it's so Indiana Jones. I mean, like, Nathan Fillion has talked about, like, what makes Harrison Ford a star is that he can take an ass beating, and that, like, his physicality and, like, just like the way he gets hit. And so I think that between Colin Firth and Pedro in that scene, they just sell everything so well. And Taron's great too. Like, I know that, you know, it's not the Taron Egerton show, but he really is.
It could be, because I love Taron Egerton.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
He should have an Oscar because of this movie. But no, not for this movie, but because of this movie. Because
this movie and Sing, the gorilla movie.
Yeah, so he met Elton. Elton was like, Elton had been working on Rocket Man for forever. Like, Robert Downey Jr. is at one point who he wanted to play him.
Yeah. But Tom Hardy almost did it.
Yeah, that was another. That's what I was thinking of earlier when you were talking about actors who were, like, stuck in the bodies of these, like, A-list hunks.
Oh, and yeah.
Are weird as shit, though.
Yes.
Like, again,
Hardy, for sure.
Absolutely.
Because, like, Venom is the greatest movie because they let Tom Hardy do whatever the fuck he wanted, and we were all like, okay, great, this is fantastic.
I don't want to date this episode too much, but just for anybody watching, look in my eyes. When I saw that Venom 2 trailer, I transcended. Like, I didn't know what was happening to myself.
When fucking Venom is like, ta-da!
I just love it when he, like, threatens the bodega owner.
Oh yeah, that it's insane. Which also I was worried. I was like, oh no, Alden, we've been really good about not doing this. You're not gonna see it, but now I get to post that we went on a tangent.
I love it. Look at the sweat. Little sweat.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I was
well,
like,
he's been like
he's squishing bananas, but I was like, oh no, we've been good. We haven't really gone on tangents. And then we were like, anyway, Venom 2.
Pedro should be in it.
Yeah, I agree.
Listen. Don't even get me started on Pedro Pascal in fucking Spider-Man. Because I'll go on my tangent. I like Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's very fun. It's relevant because he is in Kick-Ass. But now that he's Kraven, I'm like, that's fun. I'm so happy for you. But also, what if it was Pedro Pascal?
Yeah, I feel like Pedro as Kraven is just one of those castings where it's like, how do you not? Like, it just felt like it was right there. But at the same time, if it means that he can be saved for a MCU proper role, you know, in one of the interconnected properties, you know, I think that if they want to change maybe Johnny Blaze, make him Latino, and then he can be in Midnight Suns with Oscar and Mahershala Ali, because the only thing they don't have is Ghost Rider, because they got Moon Knight, Blade, Doctor Strange, obviously.
Well, I mean, but also Johnny Blaze was Gabriel Luna, wasn't
he? He was Robbie Reyes.
Oh, okay.
He's the third Ghost Rider,
and that was in the
Ghost Rider. I've never watched that. I just knew he was Ghost Rider.
Yeah, he plays the most recent iteration, but something tells me that I'm not a person that thinks that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't canon. Like, I have no problems with the show. I just don't feel like they're gonna go out of their way to be like, let's connect it.
I mean, listen, they're doing The Last of Us together. Just bring them on over. Just be like, hey, we're both Ghost Rider now, and my good friend Nick Cage.
Dude, if Nick Cage comes back,
amazing.
I hope we get in that movie where Pedro Pascal and Nick Cage just act out scenes together. I hope we get a Ghost Rider scene just for us.
That'd be incredible.
Current conversation. But I like this movie a lot. It's great. I like the Kingsman. I don't want them to make a new Indiana Jones that does not have Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones in it. I would love that franchise to die with him. But if Pedro Pascal wanted to be in that movie with his good friend Steve Murphy, a.k.a. Boyd Holbrook, and then they just all have some whips together, I wouldn't be mad about it.
Boyd Holbrook, who we called in my house for the longest time Brian Brosling, because he's just right off brand from Ryan Gosling. He's just right off to the side.
Well, it's funny because at work, when the news broke about him and Shawnette, I think it was on the same day. My boss was like, "Oh, what does that mean?" Like she was like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "Oh, he's from Narcos," but like the way I had to describe it was like, he's in Sandman, and I described everything except for Narcos, and at the end I was like, he's Steve Murphy in Narcos. He's Javier Peña's partner. My boss is like, "Oh, and that's why you know who he is." I was like,
Yep.
Shut up.
Yep.
But it was very easy to read.
Yeah, but yes, it was him and Shawnette Renee, I believe her last name is Wilson, were announced on the same day, and I said, "Great, keep adding people. You added Phoebe Waller-Bridge, put Matt Melkinson, get Pedro. It'd be great. He already knows how to use a whip."
Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Pedro on screens together would be too much for me. Too much for my mortal soul.
I would be so happy.
Yeah, I'd die. I'd just be like, make him the hot. What is not you can't.
Oh, the hot priest.
No, yeah. You can't redo the priest. I was trying to think of another like holy the hot pope. We got the young pope, the old like the hot.
Oh yeah, who is the young pope? Jude Law is the young pope, right?
Yeah, Jude Law. All I know about that show is he like appears in a bunch of dead bodies or something. I don't know, but yeah, movie rules. And now it is time.
Our favorite part
of the week, which is stash The stash on everybody's lips is gonna be Pedro's.
Amazing.
Thank you so much. So, Alden, if you have a choice, please let me know. But what this is we just pick our favorite mustaches of Podro Pascal's, whether in The Thing or just in general. Because, sometimes he doesn't have a mustache in the thing we're talking about. So we just kind of pick one. So for me, my favorite is the scene at the end of the movie when it's revealed that Whiskey is working with Poppy, and we get that very fun electric whip.
Yes.
And he does really look like Burt Reynolds in this picture now, the more I look at it. But yeah, my favorite. It's just a fun look. I enjoy it. This is good stash content for me. I just think this movie was like, we got this. We know what the stashes are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah.
Likewise, my stash is also from this movie. I chose this one because not pictured, the suit that he has on, the jumpsuit, is just so perfect. Like, it's this perfect, like, super 80s snowsuit made for whatever combat he's about to go into or get out of. And I just love it so much. And yeah, the stash just looks impeccable. Like, his eyebrows look freaking great in this movie. His hairline looks great in this movie. Like, props to the makeup department for keeping it clean, light, and tight.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with yours. I didn't capture a photo of it, but it is a snowsuit photo. So I'll default to yours, Catrina, because it was in the fight right before he electro whips the guy in half. There's the slow shot of him doing the behind the head double pistols. And I was like, man, this guy just looks good. Like, and I even thought that in the trailers for this movie. I was like, it's impossible until he does like a legitimately like horrific character. Like, it's impossible to make this guy look not cool. Like, that's just his innate ability.
Listen, it's fine. He can be not cool. He's hot. Well, we're gonna let it go that he maybe is a bad guy. Here is Alden. Here, I got you. Yeah,
totally. This whole vibe.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
Like, also with like the cowboy hat and shit, and it's like, okay, You don't need. He's in a cowboy hat. I think this entire movie. I don't think
it doesn't even get knocked off of his head.
Yeah,
it goes in with him when he dies.
I also think it gets. I don't think it gets knocked off his head when they're literally thrown in the like ski lift either. Like I think it's just still on his head and he's flying into a wall. That was also really cool because the way I can't remember how was it Taryn or Taryn was it Eggsy, the scene where like the way that they don't die is because he uses the whip to create the hole in the thing, and then Taryn shoves him into the thing and makes the
his parachute come out, the big American flag.
Yeah. That should have. I was like, wait, who's? Well, that was a stupid question. It's an American flag, so who do I think? I do like that this movie does. The one thing I didn't say that I want to is, I like that every time they're like, you get to be like a Western, the Texas boy in him jumps the fuck out, and he's like, "Hello, yes, did you know I'm from Texas? I lived in Texas," and you're like, "All right, dude, we got it."
Yeah. Oh, he's fully ready to do accents at any. I'm surprised Din Djarin doesn't have an accent with how much he rose to fame with Oberyn doing an accent. And
I feel like he had like a bit of one when he started out, but now he's kind of mellowed on it because he wanted to. I know they were going for that like really heavy Clint Eastwood vibe with Mando when he first started, but it wasn't like strong or anything.
Yeah, he was definitely like really gravelly in like the first couple episodes for sure.
So, like, I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold, and you're like, who talks like that?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Like even the most monotone person doesn't talk like that. Like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are you doing? But yeah, that's. Oh, we have to rank the movie.
Right.
I mean, we all know I'm a 10 out of 10 always.
I was about to say, I was like, this is a useless segment for you.
I don't know why we keep it. I don't know why we rank these movies. It's just like, it's always going to be 10. And then I'm going to be like, well, now I feel bad for judging the movie. So also 10. Like, whatevs.
Mando, what do you think, buddy?
Yeah, Mando's dog. Yay!
Incredible. 2 paws up.
2 paws up for Kingsman Golden Circle.
Has Pedro Pascal voiced an animal in anything yet? Because I feel like every actor will eventually.
I'm not sure.
He's not like in Zootopia. He's not in Secret Life of Pets. He's not in. Just trying to think. Because I feel like Pedro as some sort of like wolf or something majestic.
I know he's done like some VO work in games, but not in movies yet.
I would love if we got a Disney Plus series from the point of view of the wolves in Beauty and the Beast, and he was one of the wolves.
I mean, that would be better than the LeFou prequel that is happening for reasons. Like Lizzie McGuire couldn't get to series, but LeFou is gonna make it all the way to series.
Yep.
Like
I will say about that show,
like who is in the marketing?
We were all shitting on it at work, and my boss literally wrote an article, and then by the end of it, she goes, "Okay, so as I was writing that article, I started to think about this show, and like maybe I'm into it now."
I gaslit myself into being excited for LeFou.
Yeah, I was like, "What is wrong with you?" She goes, "I kind of convinced myself it'd be good." I was like, "All right."
I don't know. It's pretty funny to me, but yeah, Pedro needs to do something animated. You were talking about Luca, you know. He needs to do some animation like with Pixar or something.
Oh man, I loved Luca, and like, you know, Pedro and I've said this like 6 million times on this show, but we're both Chilean, and that's like a seaside country, and I'm like, oh, Pedro's got to do a sea monster movie now because we have a lot of sea monsters and gods and goddesses down there. So yeah, he should do it, and I should write it. Just putting it out there.
Agreed.
Like, Luca 2. Chilean sea monsters.
Southern version.
I feel that.
More southern.
All right, Alden, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me talking Star Wars on Ahch-To Radio, a Star Wars podcast, which is home to my show. It's Ahch-To Radio. It's one-on-one sit-down interviews. Rachel was just on. We have to have Catrina on super soon, so we'll schedule that off air. And then, so that Rachel's episode will be out soon. It's also home to Tori Fox's show, the incredible, the amazing, the wonderful Tori, who is just a genius and is doing such amazing work. And her show's called The Mandatorian Creed, and that comes out at the beginning of the week. Mine's normally closer to the weekend. I would have a hard set schedule, but I can't be bothered. But hers is usually mandatory on Mondays because she's very, very organized. And that show does multi-part deep dives into different Star Wars topics. Right now, she's doing a deep dive into droids with Travis Bryant, Alyssa Bradley. So other people are going to be showing up there. And then I'm also on the One and Done Film Club. It's the other podcast that I do with my friends Reed and Nikki, where we take each franchise that you love. If it has at least 3 entries, we each pick an entry to vouch for and debate which one from the entire series we should be talking about. And then we do a commentary on that movie. So the episodes are very long. But they are very funny and very enjoyable, and every franchise that has 3 movies or more is eligible. So yeah, and then posting pictures of my son online.
Mando!
We love you, Mando!
And you can see my handle here, 80_Strider.
Catrina, where can the people find you?
Yeah, you guys can look for me. You folks can look for me at my handle, Catrina, anywhere on the internet. Along with Podro, I do Y Tu Banda Tambien with my friend Kayla, where we look at pop culture from a Latinx point of view. I also just launched my new show on the Geeky Waffle Network called A Fight Club Far, Far Away. And I'm so excited to be talking about Star Wars stuff again, because I haven't had a Star Wars podcast in 5 years. So I am so hyped to be talking about something I'm very passionate about. And that's it. What about you, Rachel? Where can we find you?
You can find me on the Twitters at Rachel Leishman, on Instagram at Rachel_Leishman. You can read my work at the Mary Sue. And, I'm all over the internet chatting up my favorite things. And yeah. Make sure to like, rate, review, subscribe. I don't know what people say. All that stuff. Do all that. And let us know what you want to see. We have some more stuff planned, but we always like to know what you guys want us to watch, what you want us to do. And then maybe everyone who listens to this podcast manifest Podro Pascal coming on and talking to our dumbasses.
Yeah, I'm manifesting Pedro opening his DMs. That'd be great. Pedro.
That would be nice.
Yeah, open the DMs. Come on the pod.
Can't leave a homie hanging like that, Pedro.
Not at all.
But and so until next time, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.